Today, I can't wait to share an amazing tip that will change how you think of writing your family histories forever. If you're new here, I'm Devin Noelle, and I love inspiring you to write your family histories easily and quickly. The tips on this channel will get you writing and teach you how to take a draft from ho-hum to really exciting. So subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell before we continue to ensure you never miss a new tip. Or check the link in the description box to join our mailing list, because sometimes YouTube forgets to tell you about new video releases, and the email will make sure you never miss a new tip. While interviewing family history author Carol Baxter about her journey to write non-boring family histories, she shared this tip, and it blew me away. To ensure that everyone knows about this tip, I separated this section from that previous video. So without further ado, let Carol tell you all about boxed text and how it can transform your family histories.
Most people write a family history in the expository or encyclopedia or academic style of writing because that's all they're really capable of doing with the facts. But the thing is, that gets very dry. So what I talk about with my quirky family history writing is think about an open family history as a double-page spread, a left page and a right page. And on that double-page spread, we have text boxes of writing, of prose. Then we might have a box which has a map, or it might have a photograph, or it might have an image of a person's letter, something somebody's written. So we're using those boxes to communicate some sort of visual image. But what if we think about those boxes as voices? Every person has their own unique writing voice. It's almost like a fingerprint. We should all be writing where possible in our own voice. We shouldn't be pretending to be an academic. We need to be writing in our own voice so people can say, yes, I can hear you. The tone we use needs to be relevant to the subject. So when a person's dealing only with facts, they tend to be writing about the dry facts in that dry sort of tone. But think about tone in terms of a newsreader. They do not talk about a mass murder in a bright, lively tone. They talk about it in a dull, serious tone. So this is one of the best ways of understanding tone. Then we bring style and tone together, voice and tone together, and we get style. And style comes back to the words we use and with the words we can use that make it interesting or boring. So when we're writing the main text of our family history, we're using this expository encyclopedia style. And I wouldn't be surprised if most people want to stick to that because that's all they're capable of. It's a lot harder to write in a more interesting way, but it's also a lot more fun. But what about these boxed voices? Could we have another voice in the boxed voices? Could we have our own voice in the boxed voice? Think about your research experiences. Think about the person you were researching. In order to make an interesting family history, we do not use analysis or any sort of evidence description in the body of our family history. That must be left for a footnote or an endnote. The body of our family history needs to be narrative as much as possible. But what about using somebody else's voices, or just the time constraints? Let's talk about our own voice. For example, when I wrote that family history for the Diploma in Family Historical Studies back in the 80s, I went up to where the estate where my ancestors lived in Scotland. And I was trying to find a graveyard because I worked out from the records at the Scottish Record Office that my ancestor looked like the family lived at a place called Shotts in Lanarkshire, I think it was. And there was he probably died and was buried in the graveyard there. Unfortunately, the Scottish records didn't usually include burial records, so I was struggling to find it. And so it was 2:30 in the afternoon in November. If you know anything about Scotland at 2:30 in the afternoon, it's getting dark. But I had one day out at this place. I had to get to the graveyard. So what did I do? I hitchhiked. And that becomes a really good story that we can tell about finding the ancestor's death. Now, as it turns out, he wasn't buried in the graveyard, and I later found out he'd moved to Edinburgh to live with his son, and he died there. And I found a whole lot more fascinating information. But that story of me hitchhiking is a great story to include in our family history in a boxed voice. So what we should be doing is every time we have a research experience, we shouldn't just be communicating the facts of our ancestors' life. We should be communicating our own stories of that research experience. Because why shouldn't we be a part of what we have written? And if we have enough interesting stories, and let's be frank, we can all tell a story when it is something that relates to us. We can all follow the 5 steps of the storytelling and process and include all the ingredients in those steps of the storytelling process. We can all do that when it's our own story. So we can use those boxed voices to communicate our own story about our experiences researching this particular family. And what you will find if you do that is that your readers will gravitate to the boxed voices because they know you're going to tell them something interesting there, and they'll read the main text to get the gist of it. But what they'll come back to is that boxed voice, and they'll tell you about it. Go, wow, what a great story. You must have been terrified. I was. But the man who picked me up was even more scared than I was. He just couldn't bear to leave I was 22 and I looked 12. He just couldn't bear to leave a young girl by the side of the road at the mercy of anyone else who might pick them up. So we ended up having a great conversation. He was fascinated by what I did, and he ended up driving me all the way to the graveyard. And then, of course, I didn't find it there. And I thought afterwards, I could have been a newspaper headline. You know, that was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my research endeavours. But that shows how committed I am to research and always have been.
I like this. I love talking to other authors, other writers, because I hadn't even considered this before. Because I think about my research trip after my mom died and my grandmother died, and they were the last ones on my family tree before me, and my husband and my children. And during that trip, I drove into Columbus, Ohio, 10 hours from Iowa. And I was an hour and a half early. And I had this whole list of everything I was going to do. But I didn't know where. I had some time. So let's use this time, because my husband doesn't give up this time very often. And so I drove into the Green Lawn Cemetery in Columbus, Ohio. It's where a lot of my family members are buried. So it makes no sense. And it makes a lot of sense for me to start there. So I randomly just picked one of the lots I was going to go visit. And I said, well, I might as well just start first. And it turns out it was my great-grandfather, George Geisler, and his wife, Eveline. I've talked about Eveline a bit on this channel and in my writing workshop. So if anybody's heard about Eveline Townley Peak, this was her. And I stood there, and it was a Sunday, and I'm like, I had this spiritual experience sitting there, being with them and connecting them. I could have picked a total, second cousin, 2 times removed father-in-law, but I picked him and her. And then I saw the stone that broke my heart of their baby, Carl Richard Geisler, who died when he was 2. I hadn't seen that stone before, and just their inscription was so touching. And you've just given me an idea that when I haven't done their book yet, I do have their rough draft, but you've just given me an idea of, why don't I talk about that experience of finding their gravestone all these years later and feeling connected to them, even though they both passed away before I was born. My brother did get to meet them when he was 4, but I still felt like, I'm in this moment. I'm with my grandparents on a Sunday about to do this journey, and it was just so powerful. So what a great tip. I'm sorry I'm long-winded, but that's a fabulous tip. What do you think of that revolutionary technique? Awesome, right? Let me know what you think by liking this video and leaving a comment that you'd like Carol or other genealogy writing educators to answer in the future. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell so you'll be notified of all future motivational videos and tutorials. And on your way out, check out this writing tutorial right up here.